Have you ever found yourself wondering whether the people around you truly care about you? You might think they do, but their actions often leave you feeling drained, used, or unappreciated. It's a painful experience, and sometimes it's hard to recognize because these behaviors can be subtle and disguised as kindness or concern. But how many times have you been left questioning, is this person really here for me, or am I just a convenience? Relationships, whether they are friendships, family ties, or romantic connections, can sometimes be challenging to navigate. At times, people we trust or hold dear may not genuinely value us as we think they do. And when that happens, it can be easy to overlook the warning signs, especially if we want to believe the best in them. But how do we know when someone's behavior crosses the line from normal to toxic, and how can we protect ourselves from the emotional toll of such relationships? Self-awareness is the key to understanding our relationships and the dynamics at play. It's about recognizing when someone's actions or words don't align with their supposed intentions, and being able to take a step back before we become too emotionally invested. This self-awareness is essential not only for our emotional well-being, but also for setting healthy boundaries. In navigating these complex situations, we can draw wisdom from the Stoic philosophers, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. These ancient thinkers may have lived thousands of years ago, but their teachings are timeless and can help us navigate the complexities of modern relationships. They can guide us in recognizing harmful behaviors and staying grounded, no matter how challenging the relationship may be. In this video, we'll be diving into the subtle behaviors that often fly under the radar, like manipulation, inconsistency, and a lack of empathy, and how to spot them early on. We'll talk about how these toxic behaviors can leave us feeling overwhelmed and emotionally depleted, and more importantly, we'll discuss how to protect our peace in the face of them. By the end of this video, you'll gain clarity on the red flags to look out for, a deeper understanding of why people may act the way they do, and tools to empower yourself in maintaining healthy relationships that honor your worth. Whether it's through Stoic wisdom or practical advice, you'll leave with the knowledge to protect your energy and cultivate relationships that truly nurture you. So let's dive in and explore how we can better understand the people in our lives and, more importantly, how to safeguard our inner peace from their harmful actions. Boundaries are a crucial component in maintaining our mental, emotional, and physical well-being. They help define where we end and others begin, ensuring that we protect our energy, values, and sense of self. Without healthy boundaries, we risk becoming overwhelmed, drained, or even manipulated by others, which can negatively impact our self-worth and overall happiness. Boundaries are not just about saying no to things we don't want to do. They are a clear declaration of how we expect to be treated and what we are willing to tolerate in relationships. When these boundaries are disregarded by others, it can be a signal that the relationship may not be as healthy as we thought. People who disregard our boundaries often don't respect us in the way we deserve to be respected. They may overstep our limits without considering our needs or emotions, whether it's asking for more of our time, energy, or attention than we can give, or pushing us to compromise our values. The act of ignoring someone's boundaries sends a message that the other person's comfort, well-being, or autonomy doesn't matter. When we allow others to violate our boundaries repeatedly, it chips away at our self-respect and self-worth, making it harder to assert ourselves in the future. The longer we let others cross these lines, the more we become accustomed to feeling undervalued and unimportant. One of the most common manipulative tactics that people use when you set boundaries is guilt-tripping or emotional blackmail. If you set a limit and someone responds with, "Why are you being so difficult?" or "You never want to help me," they are trying to make you feel responsible for their emotions. This is a form of manipulation, where they are trying to shift the focus from your needs to their feelings, making you feel bad for asserting yourself. The intention behind these words is clear. They want to make you feel guilty enough to abandon your boundaries so that they can get what they want. Emotional blackmail is a dangerous tool often used to make someone feel like they're doing something wrong when, in reality, they are simply asserting their right to say no. A manipulative person may make you feel like you're being selfish, uncaring, or inconsiderate for setting limits, even if those boundaries are perfectly reasonable. The goal is to shift your focus from your needs and wants to theirs, creating a sense of obligation or guilt in you. This can be particularly damaging because it causes you to question your own feelings and begin to doubt the validity of your boundaries. Over time, this manipulation can leave you feeling like you have to constantly apologize or explain yourself, even when you haven't done anything wrong. In situations like these, it's crucial to recognize that no one has the right to make you feel guilty for prioritizing your own well-being. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It's an essential act of self-care. You are allowed to say no without being made to feel bad about it. If you find yourself in a relationship where your boundaries are constantly being ignored, it's important to step back and assess whether the dynamic is healthy for you. No one should have the power to make you feel guilty for taking care of yourself. Turning to Stoic wisdom can offer valuable guidance on how to handle people who disregard your boundaries. Stoicism, as taught by philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, encourages a mindset that focuses on internal control and acceptance of things outside of our control. When it comes to relationships and boundary setting, Stoics emphasize the importance of maintaining composure and not allowing others' actions to disturb your peace. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, writes about the importance of staying true to our values and not being swayed by others' opinions or manipulative behaviors. He suggests that we can control our own actions, but we cannot control the actions of others. In this sense, we must focus on what we can control, our own boundaries, and not allow others to undermine them. Seneca also discusses the idea of emotional resilience in the face of adversity. In his letters, he advises practicing detachment from external events and opinions, recognizing that we can't control how others behave but can control how we respond. If someone repeatedly disregards your boundaries, Seneca would suggest remaining calm and assertive, not letting their manipulative behavior shake your inner peace. Stoicism teaches that we should not base our sense of self-worth on how others treat us, but rather on how we treat ourselves. When someone disrespects your boundaries, the Stoic approach would be to reaffirm your commitment to yourself and not let guilt or emotional pressure change your course. Epictetus, one of the most well-known Stoic philosophers, offers practical advice on maintaining our peace in difficult situations. He emphasizes that we should recognize our ability to choose how we react to any situation. If someone tries to manipulate or guilt-trip us, it's up to us how we respond. Epictetus teaches that we should not let others impose their will on us, especially if it compromises our values or peace of mind. Instead, we must remain steadfast in our own principles, regardless of how others try to make us feel. In essence, Stoicism encourages us to view boundary setting not as an act of confrontation or defiance, but as an act of self-respect and personal responsibility. By setting clear boundaries, we assert our right to maintain our well-being and ensure that we are treated with the dignity we deserve. If someone disregards those boundaries, Stoic principles suggest that we respond with clarity, calmness, and an unwavering commitment to our own values. We must not let manipulation or guilt undermine our sense of self. As we navigate relationships, it's crucial to remember that boundaries are not negotiable. When someone continually disregards or manipulates our limits, it's a sign that they may not respect us as we deserve to be respected. By recognizing these manipulative tactics and applying Stoic wisdom, we can protect ourselves from the emotional toll of toxic relationships and ensure that our boundaries are upheld. Setting and maintaining boundaries is a necessary act of self-care that promotes emotional health, and it is through this act that we can cultivate relationships that are based on mutual respect, trust, and understanding. One of the most emotionally draining experiences in relationships is dealing with people who are consistently inconsistent. You may encounter someone who shows deep affection one moment and then withdraws completely the next. They might make plans, only to cancel at the last minute without explanation, or promise to be there for you but vanish when you need them most. This hot and cold behavior can leave you feeling emotionally exhausted and confused. One day, they seem to genuinely care about you, and the next, they act as though you don't matter at all. This kind of unpredictability can create an emotional roller coaster, where you are constantly trying to figure out what to expect from them. This back-and-forth behavior can lead to significant emotional strain. When someone is emotionally unpredictable, it creates a constant state of uncertainty in your relationship with them. You might find yourself questioning their true feelings, constantly second-guessing their intentions, and wondering whether you did something wrong. The lack of consistency can leave you feeling like you're walking on eggshells, never quite sure of where you stand. One of the most painful aspects of this behavior is how it makes you feel about your own worth. If someone is inconsistent with their affection, attention, or care, it can feel as though you are not valuable enough to be treated with consistency and respect. Over time, this emotional whiplash can chip away at your self-esteem and confidence in the relationship. The psychological effects of dealing with someone who is emotionally inconsistent are significant. First and foremost, the lack of predictability can deeply impact your trust in that person. Trust is built on consistency, on knowing that someone's words and actions align. But when someone is hot one minute and cold the next, it creates a sense of confusion that erodes your ability to trust them. You may begin to question whether their words are genuine or if they are just saying what you want to hear in the moment. As a result, You may begin to pull back emotionally or develop a sense of insecurity about the relationship. This constant unpredictability can also make you feel unsafe emotionally. People need a sense of security in their relationships to feel loved and valued. When someone's behavior constantly shifts, it creates an environment of emotional instability where you feel uncertain about how to respond or how to be treated. The uncertainty of when or if they will show affection, care, or respect can leave you feeling like you're always bracing for the next emotional withdrawal. It's difficult to feel secure when the foundation of the relationship is so unstable, and this can lead to anxiety, stress, and emotional burnout. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, had much to say about the importance of consistency, especially in personal relationships. In his meditations, he frequently emphasized the value of staying grounded, focusing on inner peace, and not allowing the actions of others to disrupt our emotional balance. He understood that consistency in one's own behavior was essential for maintaining a sense of integrity and peace, both with oneself and with others. For Marcus Aurelius, our inner state should not be dependent on the external world, including how others behave. When faced with inconsistency from others, the Stoic approach would be to remember that we cannot control the actions of others, but we can control our own reactions and emotional responses. According to Marcus Aurelius, the key is to remain consistent in our own principles, no matter what chaos or unpredictability surrounds us. If you are dealing with someone who is emotionally inconsistent, the Stoic approach would be to maintain your sense of self-worth and not let their behavior dictate your emotional state. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius writes, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This means that even in the face of emotional unpredictability, you can choose to stay centered in your own thoughts and remain unaffected by the erratic behavior of others. You cannot control their actions, but you can choose how you respond to them. When it comes to relationships, consistency is vital. If someone is constantly switching between affection and detachment, it's important to recognize this pattern early on. Recognizing red flags of inconsistency can help you protect your emotional well-being and avoid falling into the trap of trying to constantly win over someone whose emotional behavior is unpredictable. People who are emotionally inconsistent often exhibit patterns such as frequent hot and cold behavior, lack of follow-through on promises, or inconsistent communication. They might act loving and caring when things are going well, but withdraw or become distant when things get tough, or when they feel like the relationship is becoming too serious. The underlying motivations behind this behavior can vary. In some cases, emotionally inconsistent people may struggle with narcissism, where their affection or attention is given only when it serves their own needs or boosts their ego. They may be deeply insecure, using inconsistency as a defense mechanism to keep others at arm's length or protect themselves from vulnerability. Emotional immaturity can also be a key factor. Some people have not developed the emotional intelligence or maturity to handle stable, healthy relationships, leading them to act unpredictably or withdraw when faced with emotional challenges. Regardless of the reason, it's crucial to identify these behaviors early on and set boundaries to protect yourself from the emotional turmoil they cause. So how do you handle emotionally inconsistent people? One of the most important steps is to create emotional distance. This doesn't necessarily mean cutting the person off, but it does mean protecting yourself from being overly invested in someone who is unpredictable. You may need to take a step back and recognize that their behavior is not a reflection of your worth or something you can control. By keeping a healthy emotional distance, you can avoid becoming too entangled in their ups and downs, which will help you maintain your peace of mind. Another key strategy is to use empathy without over-investing. It's important to understand that people who are emotionally inconsistent may be struggling with their own issues. However, it's equally important not to lose yourself in their emotional chaos. You can offer support and understanding, but you should not compromise your own emotional well-being in the process. This means setting clear boundaries and being mindful of how much emotional energy you give to someone who is not offering consistency in return. Ultimately, dealing with emotionally inconsistent people requires a balanced approach. Recognizing the patterns, understanding the underlying motivations, and implementing protective measures can help you preserve your emotional health. While Stoic wisdom teaches us to remain grounded and consistent, it also encourages us to recognize when it is time to protect ourselves and focus on relationships that provide the stability and security we need. By recognizing these red flags and responding with clarity and self-respect, you can safeguard your peace and build healthier, more stable connections. Constant criticism is a behavior that can slowly chip away at one's self-esteem, confidence, and overall mental well-being. It's the type of criticism that feels relentless, where no matter what you do or how hard you try, someone always finds fault in your actions, words, or even your character. Unlike constructive feedback, which is aimed at growth and improvement, constant criticism is often vague, overly harsh, and unproductive. It doesn't offer solutions or insight, but rather serves to tear down and diminish. This kind of behavior can come from various sources, whether it's a partner, family member, coworker, or even a friend, and it can have a profoundly negative impact on how you view yourself. When you are constantly subjected to criticism, especially from someone you care about or respect, it can leave you feeling like you're never enough. Every action, decision, or word seems to be met with disapproval, and over time this can create an environment of self-doubt and insecurity. You may begin questioning your worth, your abilities, and your choices, feeling as though no matter how much you try, it's never good enough. This emotional toll is cumulative, and the longer it continues, the harder it becomes to maintain a healthy sense of self-worth. The damage caused by toxic criticism can lead to increased anxiety, depression, and a lack of confidence in your own judgment and abilities. The emotional impact of dealing with someone who constantly criticizes you is far-reaching. It can cause feelings of inadequacy, isolation, and even shame. When someone is always pointing out your flaws, it's easy to internalize their criticism and believe it reflects who you are as a person. Over time, you may start to doubt yourself, feeling like you're constantly walking on eggshells, trying to avoid making mistakes or provoking further judgment. The emotional weight of this can lead to stress, frustration, and a sense of powerlessness, as you feel like you're always under scrutiny and never fully accepted for who you are. Stoic philosophy, with its emphasis on maintaining inner peace and rational thinking, offers valuable tools for dealing with criticism in a healthy, constructive way. One of the key Stoic philosophers, Epictetus, famously taught that we cannot control what others think or say about us, but we can control how we respond to it. According to Epictetus, external judgment, whether it's praise or criticism, should not have the power to define us. In his discourses, he writes, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This highlights the Stoic principle that we cannot allow others' opinions or actions to dictate our internal state. When faced with constant criticism, the Stoic approach is to detach your self-worth from the opinions of others. People's judgments, especially when they are harsh or unconstructive, often have more to do with their own insecurities, experiences, or frustrations than with you. Understanding this allows you to recognize that their criticism is not an accurate reflection of your worth or abilities. By practicing rational thinking and self-reflection, you can develop the ability to respond to criticism with composure, rather than reacting emotionally or internalizing it. Stoicism also teaches the importance of self-awareness and examining our actions. If criticism is aimed at a specific behavior or choice rather than our character, we have the opportunity to reflect on it objectively. Is the criticism valid? Is there room for improvement? Stoics would encourage us to examine ourselves with honesty and use constructive feedback as an opportunity for growth, while dismissing unproductive, toxic criticism. By focusing on what is within our control, our reactions, and our ability to learn from situations, we can maintain our peace and not allow external judgments to shake our confidence. So, how can we distinguish between constructive feedback and toxic criticism? Constructive feedback is intended to help us grow, improve, or gain clarity on a specific issue. It is thoughtful, specific, and often framed in a way that encourages positive change. Toxic criticism, on the other hand, is vague, personal, and often intended to hurt rather than help. It's criticism that doesn't offer solutions or constructive insight, but simply points out flaws without regard for your feelings or growth. For example, someone might say, "You always mess things up," which doesn't offer any actionable advice or understanding. It simply criticizes you as a person. In contrast, constructive feedback might sound like, "I noticed that you missed a few details in your report. Maybe double-checking your work before submitting it could help avoid mistakes." When confronted with toxic criticism, there are several Stoic-inspired strategies you can use to protect your peace and respond in a way that maintains your emotional balance. First, it's important to avoid reacting impulsively. Stoicism teaches us to pause and reflect before responding, especially when faced with harsh words. Take a moment to breathe, gather your thoughts, and assess whether the criticism is valid or simply an emotional outburst from the other person. Remember, you can control how you respond, even if you can't control the criticism itself. Second, practice self-compassion and recognize that no one is perfect. Mistakes are a natural part of life and growth, and criticism, even when it's toxic, is not an attack on your worth as a person. If the criticism is unhelpful or unwarranted, Remind yourself that it doesn't define who you are. Acknowledge your feelings, but don't let them control you. By practicing self-compassion and treating yourself with kindness, you can build resilience against the negative impact of constant criticism. Another Stoic principle that can be useful in these situations is the idea of focusing on what is within your control. You cannot control what others say or think about you, but you can control your actions and reactions. If the criticism is constructive, use it as an opportunity for growth. If it's toxic and unproductive, let it pass without allowing it to affect your sense of self. By focusing on what you can change, your own behavior and mindset, you can maintain a sense of control over your emotional well-being, even in the face of negativity. Lastly, it's crucial to recognize your value independent of others' opinions. Stoic philosophy encourages us to cultivate an internal sense of self-worth that is not dependent on external validation. You are not defined by what others think of you, nor by the criticisms they throw your way. By developing a strong sense of self, you can shield yourself from the emotional harm caused by toxic criticism and embrace your own standards of success and happiness. Dealing with constant criticism is never easy, but by applying Stoic principles, we can protect ourselves from its emotional toll. By recognizing the difference between constructive feedback and toxic criticism, maintaining a calm and composed response, and valuing ourselves based on our own standards, we can preserve our peace and inner strength. You are not defined by others' judgments. Your worth is intrinsic, and only you have the power to determine how much weight to give to the opinions of others. When you choose to focus on your own growth, learn from constructive criticism, and let go of the unhelpful negativity, you empower yourself to live authentically and with confidence. There's something profoundly disheartening about achieving a goal or milestone, only to have those closest to you overlook or even dismiss it. Whether it's a promotion at work, completing a challenging project, or simply reaching a personal goal, the lack of acknowledgement from the people you care about can leave you feeling invisible and unappreciated. You might find yourself sharing your success with someone, only to be met with indifference, a change of subject, or worse, no reaction at all. It's as though your achievements have no real value to them. This lack of recognition can be especially painful when it comes from people who are supposed to be your support system, friends, family, or romantic partners, people you expect to celebrate with you and share in your joy. When people fail to acknowledge your victories, it's easy to feel like your accomplishments don't matter, or worse, that you don't matter. Over time, this lack of celebration can diminish your sense of self-worth and make you question whether the effort you put into your work and personal growth is truly valued. Achieving something significant, after all, is often not just about the outcome, but about sharing that moment with others, reveling in the joy of your hard work paying off. When that moment is met with silence or indifference, it can feel like a rejection of your efforts, and ultimately, of who you are. This lack of acknowledgement may stem from various sources. Sometimes, it's due to a lack of emotional awareness or sensitivity on the part of others. They might not fully recognize how important your victories are to you, or they might be too wrapped up in their own lives to engage with yours. In other cases, it could be a sign of jealousy, insecurity, or even manipulation, where a person deliberately downplays your achievements to maintain control or make themselves feel better. Regardless of the reason, when someone fails to celebrate your wins, it can feel like your joy is not as valuable as theirs, and that can be incredibly isolating. In healthy relationships, celebration is as important as support during tough times. A good friend or partner not only shows up for you when things are hard, but also shares in your joy when you succeed. This kind of mutual support builds a sense of connection and encourages both individuals to grow and thrive. Celebrating each other's victories, no matter how big or small, is a fundamental part of building a positive and empowering relationship dynamic. When we celebrate each other, we affirm each other's worth, encourage growth, and foster a deeper sense of mutual respect and admiration. However, if the people in your life are only present for the tough moments and never acknowledge your successes, it can create an imbalance. Relationships become one-sided when the celebration of wins is absent. You may find yourself carrying the emotional weight of the relationship, always lifting others up but never receiving that same energy in return. This can lead to frustration, resentment, and a growing sense of emotional exhaustion. It's not that you want external validation all the time, but being able to share your joy with others, especially those you care about, is an essential part of feeling seen and valued. From a Stoic perspective, Marcus Aurelius provides valuable insights on how to find contentment within ourselves, regardless of external validation. In his Meditations, Marcus writes that we should strive to achieve peace of mind through inner strength and self-awareness, not by relying on the opinions or recognition of others. He emphasizes that true happiness and fulfillment come from within, not from external sources. "What does not kill me makes me stronger," he wrote, highlighting the importance of resilience and self-reliance in the face of challenges and setbacks. This can apply to our successes as well. Instead of waiting for others to acknowledge your achievements, Marcus Aurelius would encourage you to find satisfaction in your own growth and progress, recognizing that your success is enough, even if no one else celebrates it with you. The Stoic approach teaches us to detach our sense of fulfillment from the need for others' recognition. While it's natural to want to share our victories and have others celebrate with us, true contentment comes from within. Marcus Aurelius also believed that we should not seek validation from people who may not understand or appreciate us. By focusing on your own values and standards, you free yourself from the need for external approval. The key to happiness, according to Stoic philosophy, lies in controlling what is within your power, your thoughts, your actions, and your mindset, rather than seeking fulfillment through the unpredictable reactions of others. Psychologically, the lack of recognition can have a significant impact on one's emotional well-being. Over time, this disregard for your successes can lead to feelings of inadequacy and resentment. You may start to feel that your worth is tied to how others view you or whether they acknowledge your achievements. If your hard work is never celebrated, it may lead to self-doubt, as you might begin to question whether your success matters at all. The constant cycle of striving for accomplishments, only to be met with indifference, can also cause you to feel isolated or even unworthy of success. This lack of recognition can also foster resentment, especially if it becomes a recurring pattern. You may start to feel frustrated with the people who fail to acknowledge your wins, and this frustration can breed negativity in the relationship. You might even start to withdraw from sharing your achievements altogether, avoiding the disappointment of being ignored or belittled. Over time, this resentment can erode the connection you have with those people, leading to emotional distance and disillusionment. So how can you respond to the absence of celebration in your relationships? First and foremost, it's important to celebrate your wins for yourself, regardless of whether others recognize them. Take pride in your accomplishments and allow yourself to savor the feeling of success, even if you're the only one celebrating it. Practice self-validation by acknowledging the hard work, effort, and dedication it took to get where you are. Celebrating your own achievements fosters a sense of self-worth that doesn't depend on others' approval. Whether you treat yourself to something special, reflect on the journey that brought you here, or simply take a moment to appreciate your progress, celebrating yourself is a powerful tool for cultivating internal fulfillment. Additionally, consider having an open conversation with those around you about how you feel. If their lack of acknowledgement is hurting you, it might be helpful to express this in a calm and constructive way. Let them know that you value their support and would appreciate it if they acknowledged your successes. It's possible that they may not even realize how important this is to you, and a candid conversation could help them understand your needs in the relationship. Lastly, if you find that certain individuals are consistently unsupportive or dismissive of your victories, it might be time to reassess the relationship. Healthy relationships are based on mutual respect, understanding, and support. If someone consistently fails to celebrate your wins, it may indicate a deeper issue, such as insecurity, jealousy, or a lack of emotional maturity. While it's important to practice empathy and understanding, it's also essential to surround yourself with people who genuinely celebrate your growth and are excited for your achievements. Ultimately, you are the one who defines your worth and success. While it's natural to seek acknowledgement from others, it's essential to remember that your achievements are valuable regardless of external recognition. By focusing on celebrating yourself and cultivating inner fulfillment, you can protect yourself from the emotional harm of unacknowledged victories. In doing so, you'll find the strength to continue striving, regardless of whether anyone else is there to celebrate with you.